Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be joined by Igor Kheifets. Igor is an Amazon bestselling author of The List Building Lifestyle, Confessions of an Email Millionaire. He's the host of the List Building Lifestyle podcast for anyone who wants to make more money and have more freedom by leveraging the power of an email list. He is widely referred to as one of the go-to authorities on building large, responsive email lists in record time. Igor, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Great introduction. I really enjoy, hearing that because I don't get enough praise in my personal life.
No, but none of us do, right?
Yes.
We actually get to talk for a good length of time about what we do because our wives don't want to hear about it anymore.
No. Funny. My wife can't explain to other people what I do for a living.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I am sure that after 20 years of being together, my wife could not tell anyone everything that we do. And my mother, when she made the best referral ever by introducing me to the man who would become the president of our company, said, "You should talk to my son. He does some online stuff."
Yes, online stuff.
That's great,
it's
Mom.
Nice when people use the word stuff in your job description.
It's very, very specific. So let's go back in time a little bit because you weren't always an email marketing legend. And we obviously want them to go get the book. And I know the long version of the story is in the book. So let's do the short version. Let's go back in time. How did you get started?
Well, first off, the book does go into my story, but it also offers some practical advice. So regardless of whether or not we go deeper into the story today, they should get the book. But I started out, I was just working 9 to 5. I graduated an Air Force Academy back in Israel. I used to live in Israel at the time. I'm a Ukrainian Jew. I immigrated to Israel with my family when I was about 12, just before my bar mitzvah. And my parents really set me on this path of go into the education system, get good grades, and when you graduate, when you come out, you'll have to do your military service because it's mandatory in Israel. And then you'll go look for a good job, and hopefully by the time you're 40, 45, you'll have something good going on, and maybe you'll get a company car. And at the time, cell phone was a big deal as well, unlike today where everyone has it, even some animals. So I kind of went through that path. I was a straight A student. I graduated the military academy. I got out of the Army, out of the Air Force, and I really couldn't find a good job. I ended up settling for retail jobs, security jobs. I worked in Burger King for some time, scrubbing plastic trays, which was a miserable job, really miserable job. I'm not sure what I hated most, was it the commute, which took about 40 minutes each way, or the actual act of scrubbing ketchup and mayo off of a plastic tray. So that was me, and I was so miserable, but at the same time, I kind of hoped that there might be a better way, but I had no idea if there was a better way. I mean, I was conditioned to believe that getting good grades and going to school was the way, because my mom was a music teacher. My dad was an ex-military. He retired major. And, one time I stumbled into the movie The Secret, which we all seen, I'm sure. And that movie sort of kind of lit a fire and allowed me to want to ask the question. And I did. I started asking the question, how can I improve my life? What can I do? And I discover for myself Tony Robbins and the rest of the self-help industry, right? I go through the Personal Power 2 tapes. At the time, there were tapes. I actually managed to get actual tapes and
I
had an
still
actual
have them.
tape recorder. Good. That program changed my life. I really, dove deep into the whole scene, Dale Carnegie and Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar. I actually downloaded most of that stuff online because where I lived, you couldn't get access to that information. I had to kind of go into these illegal torrent websites and whatnot because I was broke, obviously. So anyway, long story short, what ended up happening is I end up discovering there's a whole industry of people who teach other people how to be more successful, make more money. And I notice they all do this one thing, and that one thing is they all build email lists. Even at the time, you go to any of their websites, you discover that they all have these boxes on their site and ask you for your email. In exchange, they'll send you something for free, and then they start emailing you every single day with all kinds of stuff. And I figured, wow, could that be a culprit to success? And within the next 3 years or so, that was the amount of time it took me to figure out how to do it correctly. I pursued the idea of building an online business where the sole focus of that business would be to be building an email list. And as a result, I finally, after 3.5 years, I was finally able to make my first, what I would consider then to be a full-time paycheck, which was roughly $1,200, $1,300 US. That was more than enough for me to cover my bills. I was still, 20 something at the time. Obviously today that doesn't cover anything. But from that point, I walked away from my job. Within 6 months, I scaled to about 10K per month. And I don't think I've made less than 10K in a month ever since.
Wow. So that is obviously absolutely incredible. Now, talk a little bit. What inspired you to write the book?
So what inspired me to write the book is the shock that most people still don't understand the importance of having an email list, whether they own a business or not, whether they are business owners as in provide a service of some kind, or whether they are just trying to start a business online. Most people, they see blogging, they see social media. Now they, of course, see AI and everybody wants to make money with ChatGPT. They see podcasting, which was a huge trend. Maybe up to about 2 years ago, everybody thought that podcasting in and of itself is a way to make money. But they all miss one important thing, that almost every one of these activities is a bridge to building an email list. And the email list is where the money is, where the power is, where the leverage is, where the freedom is. Because when you have a list of, say, 10, 20, 30, 50,000 people, and you can send them an email with a push of a button, it's going to take you 10 minutes. And there's a link to an offer of some kind in that email. And out of those 50,000 people, even only 5% will respond and buy your offer. That's a lot of money that you've just made with the push of a button. People don't realize how powerful that is, how tremendous this leverage that you get with an email list truly is, and how much more profitable actually having an email list is compared to having a social media following.
Absolutely. And you now have helped. You didn't just do it for yourself. You are now helping other people, and have for a long time helped other people achieve the same type of success you have. And more importantly, you've actually done it. You didn't just sell the information. You've coached them. You've held their hands. You've gotten them through the process to the point where they were able to generate similar results to you. Talk a little bit about how that process works.
Yeah, well, my initial experience with list building was for my own sake. In fact, my initial success with list building, with email marketing, was promoting other people's products. What's really interesting is that, there is a whole industry out there, a whole, number of marketplaces where you can go and you can grab products to promote. And I'm not talking about just some stuff off of Amazon, like promoting like a I don't know, a dishwasher on Amazon or whatever that pays peanuts. Amazon's actually paying only like 3 or 2% commission. I'm talking, referring people to products that sell for 50, 100, 250, $500 that pay 50%, 70%, sometimes 90% commission, which means you could be actually enjoying all the benefits of selling products online or marketing products online, making a lot of money without all the headaches of actually owning a business that produces these products. So that was my initial success with list building, and I kept on building on that, and I ended up building a huge income stream just with that. But eventually I also figured, look, I can go and I can teach this to other people because they don't really realize how this thing works. And we ended up building a big company that's called the List Building Lifestyle, under the same name as the book and the podcast, where we show people how to get started building their own profitable email list from scratch, even if they don't have a product or a service that they offer, how to actually turn this into a way to make money from anywhere in the world, so they can work on their schedule, so they can work from wherever they want to work. Like some of my students, they just end up moving to places like Thailand because they just want to live on the beach. I live in Canada, so I kind of made an opposite journey where I lived in Israel. And Israel, I'm grateful to Israel as a country, as a place, but I didn't feel that was the right place for me to live and raise my family. So I ended up moving to Canada, immigrating to Toronto, the fourth most expensive city in the world. Actually, I was talking to somebody from California. They were complaining to me about how expensive the cost of living there is. And I was like, I got some actual numbers from them. I was like, dude, don't move to Toronto. It's going to kill you. It is absolutely outrageous here. Cost of housing is ridiculous. For a family with a child, you kind of need to be making six figures to get by. And that's real. So I moved here. We got our Canadian passport actually a couple of months ago. And so I made the opposite journey from a hot place to a cold place, but a more expensive place and a higher quality place at that, simply because I have my email list. And what's funny is that the first 2 months when I came here, that was back in December 2017, for the first 2 months, I didn't really work. I didn't do any kind of work. I just kind of got my life in order. I got my driver's license, found a place to live, got all the, put kids in kindergarten, school, etc. So in those 2 months, my income actually remained the same, because all I had to do is make sure I continue to mail the list and continue to grow my list using the automations that I've developed over the years, which of course I share more about in the book.
Absolutely. Now, you alluded to something earlier that I want to dive deeper on. You alluded to changes in our industry. You talked about the trend of podcasting and the new trend of AI. Obviously, if we go back to the John Carlton, John Capel's theory of you should participate in the conversation going on in your prospect's head or customer's head, we're all seeing those trends. How are you staying on top of them? And you've been kind of famous for being at the front line, being the cutting edge. How do you see what's coming?
I think it sort of jumps at me at this point. I'm not sure if I'm unique and special in that way, or whether everyone can see it. But these trends, you start noticing them pretty quickly. Like a couple of months ago, no one was mentioning the words AI or the letters AI anywhere. Now, anywhere you look, it's all about AI. All of a sudden, there's a million different tools that can automate your life. I mean, just as an example, I was browsing my favorite meme site last night, and I do admit I have this where I can just kill an hour, just swiping through memes. And even on that website, it's like there's somebody put up a post like, hey, let me save you 100 hours a week. And they put up a list of top 10 AI tools to like turn words into presentations, build websites with one keyword, and things like that. So it's pretty, like, it's obvious, it's there. But unlike other trends, which I think are just trends, in terms of like how the impact they have on an industry or multiple industries, I think AI in general is as big as the invention of the internet. And if we go back to the time, I mean, you've been in business for a long time, you probably still recall the times when people didn't really take the internet seriously. At times when Ken McCarthy came out with the first seminar, kind of trying to teach people, right, that internet will change everything, and people didn't even believe him. They kept on insisting that it's going to be all about radio and direct mail and stuff. So some trends, I do feel they are kind of like just trends. other trends like AI, I think AI is here to stay, to a point where we need to learn how to incorporate it into what we do. And I think for businesses out there, especially information marketing business, I think that's going to be a huge opportunity, because you can now incorporate AI into what you do. You can incorporate AI into your marketing angles. You can incorporate AI into your operations. You can actually start taking people who live in Nigeria, who are happy to get paid $2 an hour, and you can teach them how to use something like ChatGPT or Jasper or whatever, and they can produce, high level content for you for peanuts, because these tools are now available. So yeah, AI is definitely here to stay. It's one of these trends, but how do I spot them? Like, it just kind of, I spend a lot of time online, so I see them jump at me, and what's difficult is try to make a distinction. What's a trend and what's like here to stay?
That makes a lot of sense. Talk a little bit about how you help businesses who might not be in the, let's say, internet marketing space, who don't think of themselves as digital or internet marketing businesses, like a quote unquote regular business. How do you help them kind of take the next step and start building that online list, even if they're not selling somebody else's products, how they'd use it to help their own business? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, because you're right. Most businesses, especially if they have like a store or a physical location, they don't really think of themselves as a part of this digital economy, but there are. It's inevitable. Like, even if, let's say, you have a shop where you sell computers or fix computers, or sell smartphones or fix smartphones. I actually have a good friend of mine, Leon, who owns a store like that. And he makes most of his money by either selling devices or fixing devices, replacing batteries, replacing screens, things like that, right? So it's a purely physical location where if somebody's coming in, they're coming in with an issue. My parents actually love to go there. So he installs, like, ever since I moved to Canada, my parents like go to him to install VPNs and set up all kinds of stuff like that. So you see, I taught him that you really need an email list, because let's say you've got 15, 20,000 people in your hometown. Let's say it's a small town, but out of those 15, 20,000, there's probably going to be at least a couple of thousand who are die-hard Windows or fans, or maybe they're gamers, right? So let's say, as part of the gaming industry, what we know is every few months or so, there's a new hardware coming out, a new game coming out, a new feature or technology coming out that's going to make your machine run better, and therefore make you a better gamer. So from your supplier that you're getting this new GeForce RTX 4000 whatever graphics card coming in, and you're only going to have 20 in stock. Well, are you going to personally pick up the phone and call 20 people who you think are going to buy them? Or isn't that easier to send out an email newsletter saying, hey, just so you know, on March 16th, we got 20 GeForce RTXs coming in, and we're going to give them out in the first come, first serve. So you better come in on the 16th. Or you can say, hey, you need to, send me a deposit of $50 to reserve your copy, or whatever. So yes, you're not selling other people's products. Yes, you're not a digital business, but people still use email primarily to communicate with businesses. Therefore, they'll be on the lookout for your email. I mean, sometimes, we'll be sitting there watching a movie, and my wife will get an email from like something like Vera Moda or Zara or something with like the next 50% off. Like, she's going in, she's checking it out. Yeah, she's not looking for clothes right now, but hey, if there's a good deal and a nice item that she likes, she's going to go for it. And we all have that. We all have a store, a brand, or something that we communicate with over. We have this, relationship over email, where we're looking for the next thing that becomes available on sale. And that's really powerful, because what you might discover, even as an offline business owner, is that you can have up to 30-40% of your revenue being driven by your emails. And that's not an exaggeration.
You are absolutely right. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing now?
It enables people to experience freedom. I was just having a discussion with somebody yesterday about the freedom to pursue peace of mind. And it's something, as a business owner, I'm sure you can appreciate, where we get into it for the freedom, but sometimes it can become worse than a job, because we become a slave to our business to keep it running, to pay suppliers, to make sure customers are happy. And my friend was arguing is that you shouldn't start a business, right? You should just pursue peace of mind. And to which I said, look, if you are planning to live on a mountain somewhere, yeah, sure. But if you live in a materialistic society, you can't do that. You first have to achieve financial freedom before you can go and pursue peace of mind. And I think it's really impossible to achieve financial freedom or location freedom or time freedom in your business unless you have tremendous amounts of leverage where you're able to do something once and get paid from that action, either on a big scale or get paid over and over and over again. And with list building, that's exactly what you're able to do. Let's say if you're a speaker, you can use your email list to book speaking engagements or transform your speech into a book and sell your book. Like my book, if we're talking just about how many copies it sells, like on Amazon, that's less than 1,000 copies a year that it sells on Amazon just by itself. But you know how many people get this book just by me mailing about it, right? Every day, I get quite literally between 50 to 100 copies of this book sold outside of Amazon, outside of any outlet out there, purely from my email list, because these people are engaging me in some way. Maybe somebody attended my webinar, maybe they visited my website, left their email address, maybe they heard about me from someone else, maybe I gave a talk on a podcast. So they go on my website and they buy my book, right? And as a result, I not only have them on my email list, but I'm also actually having them on what I call my buyer list, which is something I also discuss in the book as well, and why it's so powerful.
We know your time is incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it with us. For our folks watching and listening who want to learn more about all things Igor, who want to get a copy of the book, who want to learn about the podcast, where is the best place for them to go?
Yeah. So if you would like to learn more about me or become a citizen of Planet Igor, if you will, I actually would like to give you a free copy of this book, A List Building Lifestyle Confessions of an Email Millionaire. And I would also like to give you about $3.2 thousand in free bonuses in addition to that. Now, what you need to do is you need to go to igorsbook.com and you want to get my book over there. Now, what I'm going to ask you is just chip in on shipping and handling, because I'll print the book for free. I'll also throw in $3.2 thousand in bonuses that include some of my courses on traffic generation, email list building, some email swipes, some landing page courses and templates. Okay, just because I'm asking you to chip in on shipping and handling, which is, if you're in the US, it's less than $10. If you're in Europe or Canada, there's going to be roughly $20. And the reason I want to share this book with you is because it tells you my story. It shares with you my system to building a big responsive email list fast. Plus, it actually gets you on my email list as well, which is, as you will see as you go through that process, is actually a very exciting process for people. And, you know, it's funny. I didn't realize that, but being a list building educator, I see a lot of people actually get on my list just to see what it's like and how can they duplicate and replicate that process for themselves.
Absolutely. Well, that is a very generous offer. We greatly appreciate it and your time. This has been Seth Greene for Sharkpreneur with Igor. Go check out igorsbook.com. Igor, thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.